streaming viewers. I think I have everything set up correctly, but as usual, you never know. And like the 2 first minutes of this stream is always spent making sure everything's configured properly, because that's the way we roll in this place. Oh my, this sound seems awfully loud today. Oh my, and now it's going in circles too. I think that's good. Audio seems okay too, I think. As long as I'm not shouting too much, that should be fine. We'll do it like that. So last week I wasn't streaming because I had a visitor here, so I ran around town with them. And the week before that I was streaming, and the week before that I had a little hiatus because we had a baby. Pretty huge news in my little world, which I didn't tell you last time because I kind of forgot about it. But that's what's happening to me. So now you know. Everything's going well. Everybody's happy. And now we're going to do some game developments. Someone in the chat is asking about No More Sweden. There will be news soon. We're working on it. It's definitely happening. It is. We're on the ball. You can feel safe. So that's covered. We're not quite ready yet, but you'll see when stuff happens. Programming. Yes, that's what we're doing. Arrange the windows here a little bit. And we'll take a look at what we did last time, which I can't remember. I did have to do some minor stuff right before starting the stream today because OpenFL updated itself to a newer version, or I pushed the button, but there's a new version of it that for some reason I don't quite understand decided to introduce like a new base layer for like the way it talks to the actual platform, which is an improvement, I'm sure, but it also breaks everything in a most disagreeable fashion right now. So I had to go back and just make sure that everything worked, so I wouldn't be spending like half an hour fixing broken things at the start of the stream. But it wasn't too bad. Mostly you just need to tell it that you want to use the legacy version of OpenFL, and you're in pretty good shape. Last time, I guess, would be these 3 commits. Can you guys see what I'm doing here? Yes, you can. So this very, very small commit, fixing the spelling. Oh, right. And then we did the thing where the bigger asteroids will orbit further out. And that wasn't too bad. And then we started adding crowns for the player in the lead. Is that all we did? That's weak. That's really weak. Well, I suppose that's true. We got some programming questions here in the chat already. Do you know how I can program a momentum-based swing from a rope in a 2D platformer game? Is there some kind of formula you might know of? No. I'd probably just fake it. Use like a sine wave thing, and work it from that, unless you have some kind of physics engine, but that's probably not going to help you. Because if you had a physics engine, you would have this problem to begin with. So just fake it, I think. That's what I would do. Which is what so much of game development is about. It's just faking things. If it seems correct, it is correct. No one will ever know. I actually went to the store and bought myself these. I got 2 more of them, but they're not even unpacked yet. But now I have my own instead of having to borrow someone else's, which is practical. So here's the little crown I added, or we added, like right at the end of the last stream, which is currently displayed for every player. The frame rate isn't really all that amazing. I wonder why. Oh, computer's fine. I suppose it's something with the new version, maybe. It's good enough for streaming. You guys might not even notice because I'm only streaming at 30 frames per second. So today I sort of have a plan because we were talking. That's what we did 2 weeks ago. I was talking a ton about the adding and removing players and how that was going to work, and trying to figure out like the best way of dealing with that. And so there was a lot of talking and not very much programming. So that's probably what happened. And I'd like in preparation for that, like adding and removing players and that whole thing, I sort of want to redo the way the player management works, like behind the scenes, which is going to be kind of a boring thing to do. But I have this sneaking suspicion that it's kind of bad right now. I don't actually remember the details of it, so I'm thinking we'll go through that and see how it all fits together, and then think a little bit about how we might improve it. So the way this whole thing starts is that it creates a bunch of inputs. So it does keyboard inputs. I think it adds 2 players on the keyboard, which works out to be the arrow keys and WASD into action keys for each player, which is not really needed anymore because it's only using the first one, I think. You can get rid of those in preparation of improving things, and we'll make these little changes as we go along. Burn. Yep, that's still, frame rate's really awful. Oh, I know what it is. OBS, why have you failed me? Well, I guess we'll just have to put up with that. It's because it's running in arrow mode, I think, which normally is disabled by my streaming program, but it didn't happen today for some reason. Anyway, that's good. We can just commit that immediately. Got rid of unused inputs for keyboard controls. And I think I've done this. No, I haven't. I haven't not done this on the... So this is probably going to break things. This makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Not too sure about the reset thing. We'll have to look into that. Map buttons. So it's mostly this reset thing. Although I suppose that should be happening here, so that shouldn't be too hard to find. Handle player activate. So we'll change that. Think that might do it. No, it won't, because I forgot to remove that. That'll do it. This type of work, just like going back and cleaning up old unused crap, is kind of boring and kind of scary because you run the risk of breaking the game. But on the upside is, as you do it, you sort of, removing stuff is always good because there's less stuff that can break. So it's a little bit scary doing, but once it's done, your code is way better for it. Used inputs for joysticks. So that's cool. So it's creating all of these players, and it's right now it's creating two players on the keyboard, and then another 8 players on joysticks, because why not? I think you might have interesting problems if you try to play this. That means you can play 10 players at the most right now. Hey, Stooge-tastic. Thanks for following. And it will create another bunch of players. I'm not entirely... Oh... I wonder... why I'm doing it this way when I could be doing it this way. That feels a lot more elegant. You can even do it that way, because this feels kind of hacky. I think this should not pose any problems. Stooge-tastic is asking what the premise of this game is. The premise of this game is that you are a spaceship in space. You can fly around like so, and you can grab asteroids, fly around with them, and your spaceship has a drill, which you can drill into asteroids and split them in this cool and interesting fashion. And then you can put them into this wormhole in the center. And everything is cool. Faust Petrovich, thanks for following. So it's gonna be a lot of commits today, apparently. Made player creation code a little bit less messy. So yeah, creates a bunch of players. These are all stored in the inputs, so it's basically, it's not even a player yet, it's just an input. But the way this my little input library considers them is, it's called them player. Stug-tastic. I'm sorry. I'm getting corrected in the chat, which I appreciate. I don't want to butcher your names more than necessary. And then it adds a listener to each player, meaning once someone presses a button on their controller, this function here will run. So that's all cool and fine and not a problem at all. So then we'll go to handle player activate. So this function runs every time someone presses a button. If the index of the button is the reset button, we'll reset the game. And then we just jump out of this function because there's nothing more to do. If it's not that button, it figures out who the input player was that pressed the button. And it tries to, it loops over all the actual players we have and sees if this player already exists. If it does, we just jump out because we don't care anymore. So this function will only run from here on, it will only run for a new player. So that's good. Hello, Alex. Welcome to the chat and the stream and all of that. Is the audio good? Looks like it's a little bit loud. I get the red little dash from every now and then. You guys just let me know if it's an issue. And then once it's figured out, and like, hey, this is a new player. If there are no other players, we know that we are starting a new round. So we'll tell the game that, hey, new round started. And then we'll create the player. So the problem I have with this is this score thing. This score class. This made sense when, because this is essentially, well, we have only one of these. And this is keeping track of who scored what and what their sort of score was worth. It also keeps track of time, which is, I don't know, it's not ideal. Ideally, I think the score should be stored on the individual player instances, not on like some centralized thing. And this, because we're going to mess with the teams as well, probably with the sign-in thing, I want to, because right now it's just like player number 1 is the like team, player number 0, let's put it that way. The first player, 0, will be team 0. And then it goes 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So there's no way right now to assign yourself to a different team, which is going to be an issue because you are going to want to play like 2 versus 1, 3 versus 1, 3 versus 2, that type of thing, and arbitrarily assign yourself to teams. So that's going to be an issue, and also keeping track of the scoring is going to be an issue. I guess having like a centralized place to store the scores would be kind of good, because if you're going to have teams, that's going to be an issue, storing it on the individual players. So maybe that's something to consider. Or I could just add teams, I suppose. Let's make sure everything's committed, and then I think adding teams would be a good idea. And then we can just assign a team class to each player, and the scoring can be on each individual team instead. I think that's good. Wonder what this is. I sort of know what this is, but I wonder where it's used. Oh, I see. Oh well. So let's add a new class here called team. And I am deciding right now that this game will only ever have 4 teams. Period. Because that's how many corners we have on the screen. And everything more than that, it's just going to be a hassle, and I don't want to deal with it. So we'll do a thing called teams here. That is going to be an array of team. And when we reset the game, I think, should we keep these across rounds? Maybe we should. Let's not. So we're going to delete all the teams. And then we're going to go teams is equal to for I in 0 up until settings and now you're going, Martin, you just said you're always going to have 4 teams. Why are you putting it in a variable? Well, I'm not. I'm putting it in a constant, just so I can know that this refers to the number of teams. This should compile no problem. Too many arguments. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to get this constructor up and we'll call this index, because we do want to keep track of which teams which, basically, which is going to be used later for like colors and all that stuff. FKD Lang is asking, would it be better if the player had the score belong to the team and the score was calculated by looping through all players to get this total score for the actual team? Probably, yes. And doing it this way will let us do either, essentially. What happened there? That's not good. Oh, I know exactly what's going on. So for the first, it's crashing here, because the first time it runs reset, teams is null. But the question is, why is this not? Probably because that line was commented. Yeah. So on line 215 in game, which is here, if teams is not null. Hello, Andy James Adams. What else are you talking about in the chat? Ludum Dare. The thing nobody knows how to pronounce is happening. I don't know if I'm going to do that. Probably not. Too much other crap to deal with. The frame rate is really, really awful right now, and it's probably my fault. But that's okay. We're not going to be playing that much today anyway. So now we have the team thing. That's good. So the team is going to have... Now the question is which way I want to do this. The player is definitely going to have a reference to its team. So we can add that. Player... Oh, I see. Why does it need asteroids? Oh, the laser needs the asteroids. That makes sense. Team. That's not even going to be a private field. That's going to be a public var team, and it's going to be default and null. And put this up here somewhere. Yeah, so that's cool. And now this is going to give us a error, because now we need to know which team a player would go on, which we are going to do. I suppose we'll just go teams, input index modulus 4 right now, which is just going to do the exact same equivalent of the way it worked before. And I think we had something doing that in here as well. like get color index here. This guy right here should be team index. Again, this should work just the same as before, in theory. Purple player, yellow player, green player, and maybe even a blue player. That's good. It's also a little bit confusing right now because it will number you or like assign you to a team depending on the order you press the buttons in. So it doesn't care. Like if the two keyboard players press first, they're yellow and blue or whatever. Like the first player is always going to be the same color now, I think. No, they're not, because it's using the input index. So that is going to be a problem in the future, but we'll deal with that once we get there. So now this score class, this is a problem. I'm fine with having a class dealing with the timing stuff. So I'm thinking we'll just rename this class. Call it round timer, maybe. Score, change, score, reset. Ugh, yeah, we're going to have to deal with all of that. Public function. Yeah, this is also a mess. But we'll get there. Score lines. Score. So that's going to be the round timer. When I started this stream today, I had 1,024 followers, which is very appealing to me. I have since gained 2 followers, which is okay too, but I liked it better when it was 1,024. Nice round number. Did I actually forget to tweet that I'm streaming? I think I did. I have to do that right now. That is incredibly important. Oh my glob. Game development stream right now over at Twitch. Gonna be so many viewers in here right now. You guys wouldn't believe. Look, that's what I said. Totally magic. Tweets, half pixels. Thanks for following. So, the next step in this insane endeavor, I suppose, is going to be the scoring parts. So I reckon we'll do it so that each player keeps track of their individual score, and then we'll make it so that you can ask the team what the score is, and that class will just sum up all of the scores of the players or something along those lines. But that means, because right now, if I look at a single player, I know which team that player belongs to. But if I look at a team, that team doesn't know if a player is on it. So we have to make it so that when you create the player, like up here in the players, this class is getting a little bit out of hand. doing a lot of stuff. But here, when it assigns the team, it will go team add this. And we'll keep a public var called players. That is going to be like that, and that's going to be an array of player. So now the players know which team they belong to, and the teams know which players are theirs. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, what is the Microjam? This is just my arbitrary name for what I'm doing right here. I am jamming on this game for an hour or two weekly, bi-weekly, the latest 2 weeks. And I'm only working on this game on the stream, and I just happened to name it Microjam. It's not really, didn't really think it through because it doesn't make a terrible amount of sense, but that's the way it is. So if we look at the score thing, which is now round timer, so this function here, add, what's the old score function? This does some stuff, which we're going to have to put somewhere else. We comment that out for now. We're going to get some errors. Here, handle eat complete. Yeah, that makes sense. So now, instead, we're going to want this to be owner, which is always going to be a player, I think, yeah. An owner, I think, might be null. Like if it's an asteroid that no one's touched and you shove it into the black hole, no one owns it. So we're going to check that owner is in fact not null. And then we go owner score value purity and this. I'm not entirely sure why I'm sending along a reference to the black hole here, but might as well. What's that? It's Toxel. They just followed us. Thank you very much. Maybe not score, just add score. That's better. Public function. And then it's going to be value and purity. What kind of value is an integer? Purity is a float. Not there, silly panda. Integer purity float. Mr. Max Mayer, thank you, sir, for following. And this should probably be like source, and we'll make it an actor instead. That's nicer. And then for the player, I like how I'm complaining about this class getting too big and I keep adding stuff to it. But that's the way things are. Oh my god. Aduranimus. Thanks for following. Sure, Grappa. Thanks for following. Andy James Adams, do you want closed captions? How would that work? I know it might seem like I plan these streams ahead of time and I write a script and everything, but that's not the way it works. I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit because it feels like a good thing to do. Oh my god, master, both. Hello, thanks for following. What was I doing? I was doing the score thing, so I'm going to have a score. I'm going to take a little look at this because this is not, it's just applying the value. Okay, so we can go score plus, maybe there's a plus on my keyboard, plus equals value. Wait, if I don't know what this is value, should be score. That makes more sense, I think. And then we have to go this score. Declare private variable. Like that. And I suppose we can go team Maxwell Jung. Thanks for following. And we'll do it this way so the team will know. It's like, hey, recalculate the score. Like the sum of the numbers. So this is essentially just a cached value. That's, oh my. Police cars going past outside. Score is going to be 0. Update score is going to be score equals 0 for player in players score plus equals player score. I suppose we can do that as well. Andy James Adams is still on his subtitling plan. I don't know. I suppose it's technically possible. I don't want to be the guy configuring that. It's also latency, I think, is going to be an issue. And my broken ass English. Okay. Game still compiles. That's good. Now we're going to figure out this little part right here. I suppose all of these things. Let's put them in player for the time being. So if this score is smaller than 0, we're just going to keep this code. That's good, because we don't want to go below 0 for any single player. And then we're going to go for the purity thing. Yeah, this can also be in here. This is essentially placed the sound for. That's why I had the black hole in there. I've placed the sound triggered by like how good the asteroid was. So that should also work, I think. It's compiling. Yep. Oh my god, Eric K10D. Yeah, how about I just pay you, Alex, and you can just do it real time. Just sit and type out what I'm saying. And I promise not to talk super fast just to spite you. Or will I? Do we have events for the players? We don't. So this is all cool, because now we got the scores on the players and also on the teams. That's good, assuming that all works. But the problem we have now is that before it was centralized, all the score crap. So you could listen to the score thing and you would know when someone gets a score. I am continuously sorry about this frame rate, but there's not much I can do without restarting the stream. So now this doesn't update because this is listening to something that no longer talks that language. So we're gonna have to do something about that. So this used to be an event dispatcher. How about we make a player event? I'm gonna rename this guy to be a timer event. Yeah. Round timer event. Because Haxi or OpenFL has timers and timer events already, so I don't wanna interfere with those. Now we are going to make a, am I using? I'm not using. I think I'm going to enable this thing. Oh, that thing is using it. Wait a minute. Okay, so we go like that. I wish I could tell you what I'm doing right now, but I honestly don't really have much clue myself. Player events. I don't want it to be a collection event. I want it to be a simple event. Just make this not exist anymore. I'm breaking so many things right now. Okay, that was probably not a good idea then. Let's just go back on that. And we'll keep this guy around. And look at this, like this is the exact thing I was going to implement. And like some kind of stupid idiot, I didn't realize I had it already. Score. Player event. Score. I suppose this is going to need some extra information, but we'll get to that in due time. Yes, that can still be disabled probably, because that's not actually used anywhere. Is Facebook down? No, it's not. And now I just went to Facebook because of you. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So that compiled, that's good. I think we're way overdue for a commit right now, but now we're committed, as it were, to these changes here. So when player makes a score, there's bound to be some kind of dispatch stuff in here. Like the attach, detach stuff, or is that in somewhere else? Maybe in the attacher. This is exactly what we want. So when the player gets score, like here, we want to go collection, dispatcher, dispatch event, player event, score. This is the player, the target is, I suppose, let's put source in there just because we can. And I think that's all the info we're going to need, but we'll see. So now we can take a look at, so now there's a centralized place where like a little flag goes up whenever the score actually changes. So now in the score view, thing, we can go, so we have score here, which should be timer, which I'm not entirely certain that we actually even need in here anymore. Timer, handle score change. So these are the two ones we need to deal with. Suppose handle timeout. Winner index, yeah, this is bleh. This is such a mess. I'm happy we're redoing this because it's awful. Bob Moff, how you do? So we have the player collection already. So instead of doing this kind of listener, we're going to go players, dispatcher, and we are going to be listening for the player events score. And we're going to need the reset thing as well, I suppose. Can do that because the score needs to know when it's supposed to go back to 0. So in the player collection, override clear. New player event. Player event. Reset, I suppose. Isn't there? Where's Marco? Thanks for following. Tricky part is I actually have to remember to change that string value too, because if I don't, they're gonna act like the same. And that is unfortunate. And I suppose I could write like a macro or something that will check that for me, but not today. So reset, that's all good. So it's going to be player event reset, handle score change, set score to. So this is going to need a list of the teams as well. That's interesting. I think that's just an array at the moment. I can see you guys talking in the chat, but I gotta do this so I have it all in my head. So players and teams. Unknown identifier player. Yeah, that's supposed to be this. Seems like it was a while since I compiled last time. Players, handle, score change. Right, that needs to be a player event. Did that do it? It's compiling at the very least. So this thing is still broken. So for I in, so we'll do for team in teams. No, we won't. For I in teams. Length, score views I, set score, teams, I, score. That should be fine. Oh, crash. GUI line 49. Teams is null. Is that what happened? Why is that? So player collection. Let's go through this. So game line 162. That's where this starts. So that's the first reset call. And somewhere in here, hey, someone fool. I don't know what that means. So in here it goes players clear, which would be line 224, which means it goes in here. This dispatches an event, which means it goes to, yeah, that's player collection line 29. Which you probably can't see this even where I'm pointing because I'm outside of your view, but it will go into the GUI code from here to line 49. Right, and teams is null here because it's the first time through. Okay, so it says 6,000 to start. Don't know why. But it did appear. So something works. I suppose it might be the... No, I don't know what it is. So let's make sure that the score is 0 for the player. Actually, I don't really know because it's not doing this. Player collection, score, reset, attach, detach, all of that crap. Don't know what's going on. I suppose we can do this. GUI. Actually, this might have some crap that will... No, let's investigate. So it gets here because of a reset. So that's all good. Game's running. I press the N key, this just immediately appears. Why is that? Here, set player index active, score views, color index set active. Okay, so it's probably that one. Suppose we'll do a handle score change. There. Maybe 6,000 is just the number I made it show before it's updated. Let's find out. Set, yeah, look at this. 6,000. Minus 1K extracted. Suppose I have to go. This really should do the trick. So when I press here, this function runs because it got called from here. Teams is null. Oh. But why? Handle player activate. Did I mess this up somehow? Teams. Oh, okay, we gotta investigate this. I know exactly what's going on. So what happens is I am up here somewhere, wherever I'm creating the GUI. Here, I'm sending a reference to Teams. But the thing is, I am overriding that array with a new array later. So that's not gonna work for me. So I gotta do this. I gotta create it up here, send it along down here. And when it resets down here, I can now know that it's not going to be null. And I can also just undo this fancy array comprehension thing and do a normal push here instead. That should make it work. In theory. So now I press, whoops, Teams, no longer null, that's good. Or 0 extracted, also good. Let's put this guy in the bank. No! Breakpoints. Let's step into this. Actually, let's not. I'd go so far to say that that works. So I think we can, it's time to commit some stuff. I'm not going to be, I don't want to be the guy. So start splitting out scoring from timer class. Players now keep track of their own scores and belong to teams who also do the same. Now, you had some questions. I'm going to try some. Just open the window. Hopefully that doesn't make the sound explode too much. Don't think it should be an issue. Blah, 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 blah. Bob Moff has implemented A-star pathfinding for the first time and also game dev stream for the first time yesterday. Very nice. Excellent. A-star is tricky and kind of awesome when it works. It's kind of sort of what I use in Rimkapsel as well. Not quite, but pretty much. When did I stream my first time? A couple of years ago now. It's been a long time. The first Mojam, whenever that was, 2013, I think. Might have been early 2013. So not that long ago, but still quite some time ago. Am I using a separate encoder or something like OBS? I am using OBS. There might be better things, but I don't know what they are. And OBS is working great for me. I haven't been streaming continuously for 2 years, though. Should make that clear. I've had a few breaks. But just this game is probably... I think this would be episode 28. And they are at the very least an hour apiece. Some of them, not very many of them, but a couple are 6 hours long. So what would that put me at? 30, 40. So I guess at the very least 30 hours continuously streaming on this game. And then probably 10 more, because rounding up. Yeah, I have a completely ridiculous computer to do this on because I got so tired of doing it on my MacBook Air, which is really, really struggling to do streaming. But if you enable hardware accelerated encoding, you're a lot better off immediately, which you will have on your computer if it's anywhere near a modern system. But that's not important right now. So I want to go for a Windows build. Frame rate suddenly improved. 240K goes away when I reset. That seems to be working really well. I'm pleased with that. Shave that guy off. Oh, come on. I wonder, I don't have enough controllers connected to do 2 players on 1 team. Another thing that's going to be an issue is player shapes. Or like, once I have 2 yellow players, it's going to be ridiculous to have them look exactly the same. So that's also something we're going to have to think about. Not this week, but at some point. And I also want to look at the little to-do list here for a bit. This thing, player in lower left and right, has their score not resized properly when they're. I saw this bug today when I was playtesting with a friend, and I think it might be when the game is not running at, like when it's not running in windowed mode, when it's running in full screen, at least on my computer, where it's running at a very much higher resolution. So like it's the entire game is scaled up, which I think might be contributing to that. So this is definitely still a thing. I suppose one thing we could do is make a thing that will try to figure out who's in the lead, which I realize now maybe should have been something that the team thing should do. We should upgrade the teams from being just a straight array to being like a class or something. I don't know. I'm gonna think about that a little bit. There's a lot of people in here today. That's nice. I think yeah, 10 new followers just this stream. That's pretty good. You guys are too nice. The tweet helped. Yeah, for sure. Magical tweeting fingers. Is that what you tweet with? Your fingers? I think it is. Tilsley, Jay, thanks for following. So I don't know what we should do. I think we should do one more thing before we call it quits. Fee for fee all. Blood Beret, welcome back. We can just let's talk about that for a little bit. I've been talking about doing like a playtesting session again because I feel like the game needs it now. We've done some tweaks to many things, I suppose. It's just a little bit more snappy now than it used to be, and that's going to need testing. So I'm going to try and see if I can gather up some friends and do something soon, but it's a schedule thing. I gotta find ideally 4 people so I can have like a full set of players playing and look at it myself, because if I'm going to stream it I need to like man the controls for that and such. So we'll see. It might not be like on the ordinary stream time, it might be somewhere else, some other time, but it's something I need to get on with. Anyway, I probably also need to do another pass for sound effects and crap, but we'll see. And if this game is like, if we're going to talk about crazy pie in the sky things, if this game is ever going to be released, I suppose I need to think about some kind of single player way of playing it too, which is, I don't know, it feels a little bit weird adding it to a game that is such a, I guess it used to be, like originally it was a single player game that you could play in co-op if you wanted to. Now it has sort of transformed into a versus game, I guess. It would be interesting trying to make an AI for this, but it would probably also be kind of hard because the world is so fluid, like it's changing all the time. I don't know. You guys in the chat have any cool questions? So now I'm gonna replace the this array with a proper class instead, meaning I can put some code in there as well. So that's going to need replacing, and this is going to be essentially teams clear, teams add team, move this down here. I think that'll do. No questions? What? Array access, okay, that's a problem. This we can do, just make this be a team collection instead. Same thing up here. Constraint check failure, that's teams should be a collection item. Well, we can make that happen. Reorder these guys a little bit. Will I go for Steam with the game later on? Possibly. It doesn't really feel like a game that would sizable enough to go on Steam, but you never know. How? Team index. Just hack this together because it's going to be replaced fairly shortly. For team in teams, if team so this little bit is functionally the same thing that it was before. We just pick the first player will go on the first team, second player will go on the second team. And so on. So that's not going to happen anymore, I think. We'll see. So for team in teams, score views. I think that's going to work. Into the pits. Yeah, that seems to be working. pretty good, if I can say so myself. Teams are now managed by a proper class. Did you see numbers like that? Are you sure? No. Oh, I have the camera set wrong. You guys, you gotta tell me when I'm being an idiot. Sorry about that. No, I didn't. Yeah, well, Bob, you gotta tell me when I'm being an idiot. My fault. Sorry. So I made some cool stuff while you were looking at me. It looks identical to the way it did before. But the one thing we can do now is that we have a team collection that keeps track of all the teams, which is cool. I'm going to override the add function. We're going to go item collection. This is going to let us notify the team collection when update score, when the score updates. So we can like do this like the player updates, and it will tell the team, and that will then tell the team collection, and the team collection will be responsible for figuring out which team is in the lead. So we'll make a little array here of team. Bloop, bloop. We will override the clear function. Then we'll do that. And then we'll go ordered push item. And then we'll do update score. And in here we will go ordered sort, and we'll make our own little sorting function. And this needs to compare two teams and return an integer. So let's name them A, B. So if A score is bigger than B score, we will return 1. If A score smaller than B score, we will return -1. And if neither of those are true, we will return 0. This should, in theory, give us a ordered list of the players. And then we can have a thing called leader, which is a team. And we'll have a get function and a never. It will be function get leader, and this will return ordered first one. And I suppose we need to also check that ordered length is bigger than 0. If it is, we'll return that. If it's not, we'll return null. And now, we can go something like for team in teams, team leader equals that is a mess, but it will do. So it will be public var leader bool. Should really be like is leader or something. It's maybe better. Dear leader. Oh my god, who is subscribing? This is so exciting. I'm gonna be too slow to see it. Dead! XXX. See how this works? Team in this. That probably makes more sense. Excuse me for 1 second, I just gotta fix something. So now there's not going to be any way for us to actually know if this works, but it didn't crash. So that's always something. If we go into the player, and there is going to be an update function here somewhere. So now we'll see. This is going to have some issues with two teams having the same score. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try debugging that. Team collection, update score. This is also going to be the last thing we do. Stream, so I added a player that updates the score. They get a crown. Added a second player. Nobody gets a crown. The question is going to be what happens when I get destroyed by the black hole. Okay, so that was probably the breakpoint for that thing going away. Team in this ordered has 4 teams. Score 0, score 0, score 210. So that's all good. but it's still the last one. So this needs to be the other way around. I think that might have been our little problem. So I get the crown. Nobody gets the crown. Find an asteroid. I like this one. It's a really good asteroid. Chuck it into the pit of despair. He goes spionk, and I get the crown. So if well, I didn't mean to do that, but I suppose that's gonna work for our purposes. So now if this player goes up into the lead, the crown should move. And then we gotta deal with multiple teams having the same score later. So that moves. So that actually works. So I gotta commit that. Make leader finder code deal with draws. I'm gonna just write that down immediately. So that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Only shows the crown on the team in the lead. Updated to-do list. Push those commits. All in a day's work. Yep, that looks good. Yeah, I know, Alex. It's kind of broken still, because I think it's because of the draw, meaning that sometimes I think first of all it doesn't run exactly when it needs to, and second it will only consider one team ever to be in the lead, and I think it will depend on the order they started in the list in. So I think in the beginning, I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some crap with that to get it to work. I think that's all for today. I'm a tiny little bit tired. I don't know if you can tell. And I got some very important beer drinking coming up, which I don't want to miss. So next week I'll try to get some playtesting going. We'll see if I stream that. I don't know if you guys like that. It feels like it's not programming, that's for sure. But it might be interesting still, I don't know. Either way, we'll see what happens. I might stream it just because you'll notice. And then next week we can deal with the score stuff some more. I suppose at some point we're gonna have to think about team, like picking teams and stuff. Which is going to be a bit of a mess, but I think it'll be fine. And yeah, because that has a whole bunch of issues that go with it. But we can fix that. What else? I don't think I have anything more. Every week, if I remember it, I think I did last stream, I will put this stream on YouTube so you can watch it after the fact. And you can also go back and watch if you missed a stream or something, because they won't stay on Twitch forever. I think you have 2 weeks or something to look at them on Twitch. But either way, YouTube video player is just a lot better. You can subscribe to Crap down here. You can find my YouTube channel either in the sidebar, it should be on this side, or below. If you have a wide window, it's not even a sidebar anymore. I know I don't make the rules. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, or you can just ask questions here, or whatever suits you. And thank you super much for hanging out. I really enjoy. I'm happy that you're happy. Let me put it that way. And I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye. And if you wonder about this awkward pause at the end of the stream, it's because it's buffering a little bit, so I have to keep talking until the buffer ends, because when I press stop, it just immediately ends, and I don't know when the buffer is. Yeah, so goodbye.